with constant fire or something.
I don't know. You right there?
All right. Yeah, I'm doing it. That's fine. Good. Doing it.
Welcome. If you have a child participating, we just ask that you have a waiver sign.
We have the waiver and that's the waiver here.
Yeah, there's a physical copy over here.
Do you know what days when it's deleted longer? Yes, so I have to make just the adjustments to that.
Yeah, I guess I, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Yeah.
So- Yeah, so, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So you're gonna do that with a big day. You guys are correct.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to be, Brad, I suggested
Yeah, because the program starts on like Tuesday morning.
So yeah, with all the committee meetings. So we go there. Cool. Wednesday, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
Monday and things.
couple of blocks. And the day the rest of it, I pulled in, just so you walk.
They're right over there about the Warriors games. And it's wild. Yeah. ABC or not.
Yeah, I did.
Green light, watching it burn.
Like a turnout, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, we normally do, but so we're not never know. Oh, yeah, everybody's that,
Maybe.
those people. Or that's Kurt, right?
Kurt, you don't know if he is gonna join via Zoom. I didn't get a thumbs up. Okay. We know Kathy's not here and Kurt called up the message and he said it sounded like he was gonna join by Zoom.
Can't count.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Quorum.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm going for my physical, so I gotta lose some weight.
Zoom.
This is my way.
We have to be
So
there.
does he have a just-
Who is that guy?
Is it in there?
Once a year, it's all.
He's away from us.
It's gonna, you have to find all the stuff that was inside, all the particles. It's a hidden.
Yeah, it's not the,
Not the old days anymore.
no, yeah, we could all be remote under that resolution. But you're choosing to be in person now, so we would have had to follow, could have followed the conference rules, and I could have put it on the agenda and all that stuff. We didn't.
So he can put it on
Yeah,
the-
so he can call and listen, but he can't.
How you doing? Good.
The vote, roll call vote every time, right?
Well, and I would have had to put it on the agenda, his location,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that,
yeah.
unless it just cause.
So,
He
he just been just,
listen, but yeah,
but he's not part of the forum.
correct.
Okay.
Where's he?
Yeah, he. Back there. I didn't know
You hear that, Brian? Those cookies are for a kid.
And you're playing his wife.
We are kids. Yeah.
So you're leaving, or are you gonna stay for the meeting?
I'll stay for probably.
He's gonna do the.
You gonna jump in?
Sound all by myself. It's.
You will.
I don't think you have much choice.
Seriously.
Where's the volume?
Please.
Yeah.
I'll probably stay for, an hour or so.
Feels like a deposition. I know, yeah. Interview panel. They've done that, right?
Look at the whole group up here. That's where you'd be sitting, you'd be with the audience. I can't do. Oh, we will when it gets.
Derek, the other day, he said hello, a couple days ago. Derek, did you get it?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna wait, but Derek, wait, I don't know. I can, we're going, I'm going up to July. Yeah.
But you should.
We're tired with him, like, anyway.
You guys, everybody
You're ready.
ready? It is 6:30, so I'd like to call the meeting for order. So you're gonna be the secretary?
I'm going to be the secretary. I'm gonna be the secretary tonight.
Okay, all right. Roll call, please.
Okay, so roll call. So the meeting of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Mid-Peninsula Water District for Thursday, April 27, 2023. Establish a quorum. We've got President Bella,
Here.
Vice President Zuka,
Here.
Board Member Schmidt,
Here.
Board Member Jordan, Board Member Wheeler. So just, we have a quorum. We do have a quorum.
That's needed, so please rise and please join our Assistant General Manager. The pledge of allegiance. Scott, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Right, thank you very much. Welcome you all. Beautiful, nice crowd. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So, item 2, public comments. Anybody? Do you have any public?
We have
comments?
no public comments, no emails from the public.
Okay,
President.
very good. So we'll go on to the next item, which is the agenda review, additions, deletions, or pulled items. Anyone? Okay. Good, so we'll go on to the fun part, the acknowledgement. Okay, so overview of the 2022 Mid-Peninsula Water District Calendar Context Program and the distribution of calendars. And who's gonna take it up?
I'll
Kat,
start.
please.
I'll start.
General
And,
Manager.
yeah, so first I wanted just to welcome everyone here. For those of you who have visited the district before, you'll notice we're in a different location. And that is because on New Year's Eve, our main operations center experienced a flood and water inundated the building. And so we are not currently occupying that place, but we here are leasing the space for now while we work on rehabilitating that. That site was already due to be remodeled and rehabilitated. So we're just rolling into that project, and that's why we're here tonight. So, I appreciate everyone's, patience and accommodations, but this isn't obviously our normal boardroom. But we're still very, very glad to have you all here nonetheless. And so I will hand it over to Brandon Spears. He is our water resources coordinator, who administers our water conservation program as well as the calendar contest. So, thank you.
Thank you. So good evening. My name is Brandon Spears. I am the Water Resources Coordinator here at Mid-Peninsula Water District. Before we get started, I would just like to quickly go over a few hospitality logistics. Right over here is our restrooms, and right behind you on each side, we have an emergency exit if you.
Not these, on the other side.
All of you are also invited to join the staff and the board for a few refreshments and snacks after we conduct the ceremony. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for coming out tonight, as well as those who participated in our 14th annual calendar contest. This is the first ceremony of this type that we've had since January of 2020. And we're very glad to be able to celebrate this in person again. Each year, the district sponsors this contest for many reasons. One, children are our future. And we feel it's very important that they understand the value of water and learn to be good stewards. Water is a very precious resource, and we need it to support our growing population and businesses. 2, climate change will continue to influence California weather patterns. The shifts in our climate can be very extreme. We can go from historic droughts to record rainfall. This will likely create additional challenges for maintaining water supply reliability and the need for innovative solutions. Bottom line, water conservation is very important, and it's the district's philosophy that we educate today's youth. And so let's get started with this evening's ceremony. Staff and board introductions.
We'll start with the board. Brandon? Louis, you want to introduce yourself, Louis?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and in addition to what Brandon said, and I'm sure all of you are asking right now, just a couple of words here before we move on, is with all the rains that we had, what is he talking about? Water conservation and water, I mean, we were flooded, you know? He is correct, he is correct, we continue to do, remember, we live in California, okay? And California, you can have 1 year with a lot of water, and then you can have 2, 3, 4, even 5 years, not of less water, of drought. Okay, so we need to continue, that's why we say it's the way of life. The way we live, you can do with 1 gallon of water, do not use 5, okay? And that's what we're talking about. And it has to be almost ingrained in us, second nature to us, that we save and conserve water, even though we just went through, and we just heard the general manager talking about flooding, and our own place got flooded, you know, because the water rose, you know, in all areas, and it flooded all the lower parts of the town. And our building, unfortunately, was one of them that got flooded. But water conservation has to be one of the most important. Water is one of the, if not the most valuable resource we have. Okay, with water, there is life. Without water, there's no life. So thank you very much. My name is Louis Vela. I'm the president this year for the Mid-Peninsula Water District, and next to me is
Matthew Duca, vice president of the board. I've been on the board since 2005.
I've been on the board since 1999.
I'm Brian Schmidt. I'm the newbie on the board. I got on the board in 2018. So great to see all of you.
Yeah, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah, and I'm the interim general manager, Rena Ramirez. I typically am the operations manager, but right now I'm acting as a general manager. And to my left is. Yeah.
I have Julie Sherman, I'm their attorney, I keep them out of jail.
All right, I introduce myself a little bit, but I'm the assistant general manager. I've been with the district since last summer, so August.
I'm Jugan Parkour, I'm the district engineer, and I can spend the money.
So we'll begin the ceremony, and President Vela, I ask that please join me.
I'll join you, absolutely. This is very, very important. This is one of my favorite activity in the whole year. It is, it really is, yeah.
So we probably had around 60 submissions for posters for this contest, and as you know, only 12 were selected. We have 9 participant awards, and then we have 3 grand prize winners, as well as an instructor that will be recognized for the most participation. So I'll get the ceremony underway. So I'll say a first name and a last initial. So our first participation certificate is going to go to Pat G.
Easy, just a second. All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Rayma R.
Good job.
Lily E.
If the parents want to go, a little bit that way, please, whoever the parents are, take a better picture of your children, not us, of the children. Okay, continue.
Ryan H.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Sean O.
Oh, he's not here.
He's not here, okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is Sean on
Is that you, Sean?
well,
Yes,
virtual
hi.
handshake.
All right. Yeah,
There you go.
Jordan P.
Good job. Okay. Look at mama.
Thank you.
All right. Small one.
12 final 12 people because there are 12 months in the
Maybe that's what we should do from now on. Good job.
Next up, Ashley A. Not
She,
Hi. 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 Thanks. Thank you.
Scarlett T. Good job.
Good job. Congratulations. All right.
And we have Brooklyn F.
Good job. Congratulations. All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna announce our top three finalists. Third and second place will both receive a $25 gift card. And our top prize winner will receive a $50 gift card. And in third place, we have Charlotte P. There you go. Second place, we have Hawkins D.
Like your trip, Hawkins.
Okay, and then our grand prize winner, we have Joshua P.
There you go. All right.
And so we'd also like to recognize Mr. Skidmore from Notre Dame Elementary here in Belmont. He's gonna be receiving a $100 gift card. This will be to help with purchasing academic supplies.
There's a whiteboard that's gonna be replaced with.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the other students that are recognized here tonight, that are not present to receive their certificate, we will be dropping them off at their, individual schools so they can receive these. Thank you to all of you again for participating. We really appreciate it, and I had a great time reviewing the artwork. We look forward to next year's entries, and please don't forget to stay around for some drinks and snacks afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have some extra copies here if you want to grab a extra copy for grandparents or
Yeah,
scrapbooks.
yeah.
Yeah, and so now, we have.
Oh, okay.
They're back there.
Yeah. So we have on the schedule here a 15-minute break, so feel free to have some cookies and we'll
Get the big cookie.
chat.
All right, shall we?
Yep.
Okay, we'll keep on going where we left off. So we are on item 4C. Is right after the 15-minute refreshment break. So item 4C, the proclamation recognizing the extraordinary support provided from Stepford Inc. during the flood emergency. Please.
So this is another really fun one and really well deserved. This is a proclamation thanking Stepford for their extraordinary support, helping us through the flood emergency on December 31st. Where, I mean, we could not have functioned, we could not have gotten back to business, maybe ever, but certainly not as incredibly fast as we were able to without your help, and countless support. So we have the full proclamation here. I don't know, President Vella, if you'd like to read it, or if you'd like me to go through a couple highlights of it.
Yeah, I thought maybe I could, either I or you could go with a couple highlights. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So, whereas Stepford's owners, Mr. Jim Pruin and Ms. Diana Lanes, dispatched Mr. Jackie Lamb, their technician that serves the district, immediately. Jackie left his family and home on New Year's Day, and over the next 4 critical days, Jackie was on site for some 45 hours, working tirelessly with district staff to enable the district to conduct critical business when the offices opened on January 3rd. And whereas Jim and Diana opened up their office and provided a space for district customer services staff to work, and Jackie worked to restore computer servers and reconfigure networking for district customer service support at the Stepford office. Jackie restored system and customer file service, internet service, and the district's phone lines at Stepford offices so that we were able to resume customer service operations as a major interruption had never occurred. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Mid-Peninsula Water District express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Stepford Inc., Jim Pruin, Diana Lanes, Stepford staff, and especially Jackie Lamb for their invaluable expertise and dedication and commitment to aiding the district in our time of need. You guys really are heroes through this.
Yeah, it was just amazing that again, that we were able to, when the office was supposed to open back up again on, what was it, Tuesday, the 3rd, you know, we weren't sure if we are gonna be able to do it, but they said, hey, you can come up, take a place in our space. And they connected all of our servers so that our customer service people could start working right away, have access to people's accounts. Our phones worked at their office, so people could call our number and talk to our people there. You know, I don't know if we could have done it any quicker. And if it wasn't for, you know, Jim and Diana just to say, hey, come on over here and do it. And of course, it didn't hurt that they're our IT firm. They provide all the service to us. So that helped. It was just a lot easier, but still, it was just a lot of effort. We couldn't have done it without their support, you know, and then of course, Jackie just coming over to the office and just kind of reconfiguring everything, you know, and he spent 45 hours the first 4 days and then just a little bit of cleanup after that. And, you know, we were working all over the place, but we were working, you know, so I don't know if we could have done it without their help.
Yeah, that first week was intense, but I mean, really through probably till recently, just really started kind of quieting down when we got this space and helping us move in and reconfigure everything here again.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Yeah, just a couple of quick comments. And what I've been hearing was that the public that we serve, the customers, had no idea. They didn't know the difference. And when the customers don't know the difference, for them, it's business as usual. That's a success.
I'm happy.
Because it could have been a disaster. So thank you so very much. We've been hearing a lot about this transition and the seamlessness and all that, which we really appreciate. So I don't know, Vice President or the Director Schmidt had any quick comments?
Yeah, I'll add something just real quick. I was traveling overseas when all of this happened and got something on my news feed that's raining in California. Much of it. I landed, yeah, just a little bit. Landed January 4th and went, oh crap, I think I'm going into work right away. To the city of Palo Alto. I spent a lot of time in consulting and I spent a lot of time in government as well. And, in government, we tend to work in scopes of work and budgets and all that kind of stuff, and it's all dictated in advance. But it always amazes me, and I think it's awesome when this kind of stuff happens, and it's the relationship side of it comes to bear, and sort of the problem solving it, and that kind of the normal procurement goes out the window because you've just got to get stuff done. So, thank you, because we know that that's not traditional government, in the way we procure things, and it's awesome to know that we have resources that help us with that and stuff. So thank you for all the support.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I was also out of town. I was gone for it, so I'm glad to see everyone moving so flexibly and getting the systems.
Yeah, it's amazing, the time of year that it hit.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt said he was out of the country, he was out of town. I too, when the first text message that I received from Rena, I was in Terlong. We were there for a wedding, having a wedding in Terlong or whatever, somewhere there anyway. But, and the phone calls that started coming in at first, you go like, okay, good, we have rain, we need rain. And they were like, well, no, not that much. This is too much. Yeah, so, and then Rena kept on, and Kat, he kept on texting me and I go like, oh my Lord, we better at home. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. We'd like to say that our greatest fulfillment comes from serving organizations who provide so much service to so many others. We live in Belmont, we're part of the community. There isn't a time when I reach for a water faucet when I don't think of the people that we've worked with there for so many years.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we know what you do, and yes, it's invisible. People just think I'm gonna turn that faucet, the water's gonna be there.
Exactly.
And with us, they
We like to keep it that way.
yeah, they hit that key and they think the internet's gonna pop up.
That's
So
right.
Yeah.
I want to start to keep the data flowing for you, to keep the water flowing. And our greatest fulfillment comes from it. So we say thank you for the opportunity to have been of service to you for so many years. It's really been a pleasure, and we hope we get to do it for a while. So thank you for this. This is a wonderful.
Yes,
thing.
this is very.
Have a cookie.
I heard one of the fathers telling his daughter, "They're just cookies. Don't be afraid." I'm going to God, at our age, you have to run screaming from the room when there's cookies. But anyway,
All right,
thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
What you guys do with the kids, we think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good. That was fun. So the proclamation then
Yeah, we thought they were attending by Zoom, so we didn't, print it. So we'll follow up with that.
okay.
The tech people.
We need to sign that.
Yeah.
right?
we can sign, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll.
In time. They're not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
We know where they work.
Yeah.
We know where their water service is.
There you go. All right, so item 5, but was the consent calendar on the consent agenda. I'm thinking calendar still. Okay, so we have 4 items: approval of minutes of 2 meetings, expenditures, and the reaffirmation of the findings proclaiming winter storm emergency impact. Any comments on all the previous call? Please.
I'll make a motion to consent.
Second.
Okay, so we have a
We're gonna
motion
do that a
by.
lot, aren't we?
Yes, so a motion by Vice President Zuka and a second by Director Schmidt. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is hearing and appeals, which we have none. Correct?
No,
That's good. Okay. And item 7. Mid-Peninsula Water District. 2016-21 capital approval project and the COP financing. None.
None.
Good. And we got to the regular business agenda. Okay, so first one is considering resolution 2023-10, authorizing water service agreement between the Mid-Peninsula Water District and Menlo BCSP property on for 405 Industrial Road. At GM, please.
Yes, okay, so this is a water service agreement. For a new development. It is actually, located right behind the In-N-Out Burger. It's kind of a flag lot shape. Previously a self-storage,
That's
place.
over by Holly, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and I believe they've already demoed that and they've already started some construction there, on site there. And so, the site is about almost 2.5 acres, 2.4 acres. And what they are building there is a life sciences building, just over 200,000 square feet, one commercial building. So the water service agreement will provide them with water service. They'll have, 2 domestic meters, serving the building and 1 serving irrigation, as well as 2, private fire service, connections for it. The fees and, Director Schmidt pointed out and had a question about how, the fees were described, on one line there, so I'll just walk through. So the water system capacity charges and the water demand offset fee, because we're still in stage 2 of the water surge, didn't have the stage 2 water demand offset fees. Those total $181,383. Because the existing facility already had a 5/8 connection, but there is a credit for the system capacity associated with that one. So that's a $10,000 credit. We estimate the costs to inspect their work as $5,334. And then the cost for water meters and radio transmitters is another $4,765. So total, that adds up to $181,440 in change. And so the sentence in the staff report with 171,000 in parentheses, that total was actually intended to be the sum of the water demand offset fees, the capacity charges, and the credit. So just a little forward choice there, but that's what it is. And so the numbers in the resolution, and the agreement itself are as described. And then I believe you also had a question regarding which, so
You want me to just address that quickly?
Sure.
Yeah, so there's just a couple internal section references that are pointing to other paragraphs and the numbering is incorrect. And I will correct those, and it's Brian noticed 2 of them. In 5C, it references 4A and 4B, it should be 2A and 2B. We will correct that before this gets signed. And in 5D, it says the provisions of section 6B and 6C. That should be 5B and 5C. So I'll fix those.
Thank you. Good question. The existing water service, I suppose that's gonna be abandoned, correct? It's probably been there for ever and ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No? Right, that's it, go ahead.
We don't have lights anymore, we can't like declare our intention.
No, yeah.
We're not on Zoom where we can raise our hand, it's even more awkward. So one thought that was occurring to me, I know this is a different type of WSA, it's not the water supply assessment, right? But as we're continuing to accumulate some of these larger, this is a massive, but larger developments. It would be good to sort of understand where we're tracking on our ISG and sort of our aggregate, so that we're as a board seeing the full picture of water supply. And we can't, I can't remember how we come up with the water system capacity charges. That was a long time ago. But we came up with some estimate, right? So how does that affect the water supply? It might be good to either think about adding that in there in a paragraph, a chart or whatever, so that we're kind of knowing how we're approving these things relative to our entitlements.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. We talked about tracking and establishing, on the back end, but we can certainly report that out.
I mean, I have no problem with this tonight. It's more like a, hey, let's think about that. Maybe next one, if it's not next week, but for the second one after that. I'm not worried about it. It's more like, be a good habit to start developing.
We're seeing a lot more development than
We're
development
seeing a
really
lot,
ever
yeah,
has, so.
absolutely. I mean, we've approved a lot and we've approved it within, well, we get, we've always talked about the impact of Bay Delta where everybody's screwed, so,
Right.
whatever. But as it relates to, even if we're starting to incrementally inch up to our ISP. There's a lot of biotech. I mean, I think they put a freeze on it in the unincorporated areas a little bit, but it's gonna be coming back with a vengeance once it.
I have not yet had the brief, I mean, people are talking about the cities are not.
Let's San Carlos put a moratorium on approving projects for a little bit in the county.
Yeah, they have a specific plan, right? For the community, right?
Did you ever hear, Elsa Bay talking about freezing the?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's directly related to this area where they're building a lot of these life science buildings, but there's another area closer to the downtown where they're developing a specific plan because they want to grow there. And so they've put a pause until they get through that specific plan. So there's no development they're approving. They haven't stopped, doesn't seem like they stopped with these life science buildings, but they're in a slightly different area.
And the majority of that specific plan area is actually what we serve, so, we've been engaged in that, but.
Yeah.
That was it. With that, I will move to approve the resolution 2023-10.
Good, so we have a motion by Vice President Zuliga.
That's right. Did you?
That was my turn.
Oh, sorry. I was just, you're right. I went out of turn. Go, you move. I'll second.
Go ahead, Director Smith, we'll move. Well,
Does not matter.
I know you're joking.
Fine, I'm moving resolution 23-10.
I'll second.
in a concert.
I was out of line. I apologize.
All right, very good. This is being a resolution, so we need a roll call.
Yeah, so Director Schmidt
Yes.
and Vice President Zuka.
Yes.
President Vela.
Yes. All right.
Motion
Can I
passed.
throw up a brief, kind of technical question? The 8-inch private fire service connection. That's referring to the diameter.
Yes.
Of the fire service connection
Yeah.
needs to be that big.
Yeah.
Is that coming off?
That's probably small.
That sounds pretty darn big to me.
Oh, yeah, yeah, there are 12-inch fire services.
Wow.
Yeah, depending on how tall the building is, that's how much supply you need.
Yeah. And the pressure out there is like 120, 130 PSI.
Yeah,
Too big, you think?
there's, the other issue is that the building is far away from, it's behind it and out, as Kat was describing, so it has to travel
Friction loss.
for a while, so there's friction losses. So they calculated, they come to us and say, we need this much, and it's actually connected to an 8-inch line. So, okay, it's, and then about 50 feet over is a 12-inch line. So it's.
That's the one that was built from down, right?
Right.
And because they had to have a pump for this one, too, the booster pump.
I don't know, they don't need a boost pump.
No, this is not that high.
It's 3 stories, I think. Is it
Oh,
three,
okay.
3 stories?
Yeah, 2 to 3 stories. It's
Yeah.
not as big as the other one. This is 200,000 square feet or something like that.
Yeah, 200,000 and the bottom floor is parking primarily, so.
Yeah.
It's mostly elevated.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, some of these fire service, sometimes they're connected to a booster pump and the reservoir on site. Yeah.
And we have different regulations if there's pumping to protect our system and those kind of things. But this one. Next door, I have to do. So, right.
Did they put storage in it?
They have to because of the hospital. They're still planning on building a full-fledged. So there's an empty space in the back.
I don't think they did that as part of original construction. They must have added that on.
I believe, man, it's been a while. No, you know what? They didn't because they paid for an intertie with Cal Water.
Yeah.
So that's how they serve, but hospitals require
There's
more redundancy.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot more things that do not much more expensive. All right, very good. So we'll move on to item 8B, approve resolution 2023-11, authorizing content for management advisory consulting services between Mid-Peninsula and 4 Consulting Group.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the lead on this one.
Okay.
So this is, as we know, Tammy just recently retired, and part of what she wants to do now is become a management consultant and just share her experiences with some of the smaller agencies. And I know she's already been talking to a couple. And so she's been working in now, or just gonna start working out of Jubin's office as a principal in the company. And we had talked about this internally, that, you know, there are some things that as much work as she did while she was here at the district, there just wasn't enough time to get it all accomplished. And so there are still some things that we want to see completed. And I've made just a quick list of some of the things that we're talking about, like, so the financial management policy, it's probably maybe 75–80% done, but we need that last little push over it. And she, along with the former administrative services manager, Candy Pena, were the ones behind that. So we're thinking that might not be a bad idea to have Tammy help finish that. An update to the personnel manual, just because, again, she did a lot of the personnel manual stuff to prepare it years ago. And so I think if anything, just kind of help and provide some guidance to Kat and Monique and myself when we update that manual, because it's about time for an update to personnel manual. And then the development of the records retention policy. We've been talking about that for years. And actually, there's an item a little bit later on under regular business where we lost some records in the flood, you know, and that's part of our records retention of documents that we need to maintain. But anyways, we need to come up with a policy, and Tammy's been working on that, had been working on that. And we just think there's an opportunity there. She's no longer, you know, working full-time for the district, and she's got some experience that she can help not only us, but I know she wants to help some other smaller agencies like us in the Bay Area. Her expertise in management, you know, whether it's in human resources or administrative policies and so on. So we've been talking about that. We now want to just basically formalize it. But before we could formalize it, PAC4 Consulting Group, Jubin's office, they ran it by our legal counsel on their side. And then we also had Julie take a look at it, find out, hey, this is a person that was a former general manager. Aren't there usually some things that require, you know, that kind of administrative high level person stay away from, you know, that type of work we're working for us. And if you saw the staff report, we said, look, you know, after looking at it, you know, Julie put together a contract, and she did take that into account. And so if you look in section 15, there's some language in there that talks about that, you know, that basically there is some post retirement things that will not allow Tammy, in this case, if the board approves a contract, to do certain things. She's out here lobbying, you know, the district to do that or do this. But to help the district put together some policy documents, help us with the work behind the scenes, that kind of works okay. And so we prepared a contract for that purpose, be working to Jubin's office, be using the task order system that we have with Jubin's office and also other consultants to do work. And we just like the board's approval. Right now, what we're thinking is putting in the 23-24 budget in there $150,000 that we could use to help do some of that work. I'm not sure we're going to spend that entire amount, but typically the way we budgeted things is we tend to budget a little conservative, and then, you know, it just depends on how fast we can get things done. You know, we spend a lot of it or we don't spend it. We typically underspend, but we just want not to sell ourselves short and just take advantage of Tammy now that she's got, you know, a different type of free time. And I think that she could help us with some of these documents. So we're looking for the board support for that purpose. So that's my staff report. Any questions, the board members? I'll try and answer for you.
Good. All right, any questions?
Yeah.
Because I think we all do. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Okay, we all know Tammy's great, and Tammy's expensive, which is also fully appropriate for someone who's great. And I guess when I saw this, I just felt like it's a lot of money, and it feels to me like we have a somewhat of a top-heavy organization at this point. I know Tammy's not in charge of anything, but it feels like we're going to have 3 people in charge, kind of, sort of. So that's my hesitation. Brendan, when you said, well, we don't necessarily expect to spend $150,000, then that might alleviate some of it. The other part of this, in my mind, I definitely hear your thoughts, both of your thoughts too, is a lot of the stuff that Tammy would be doing, I think is integral to being the general manager of this organization. So I tend to want to see Kat probably doing the lead on these things, and maybe Tammy more of an assisting role in doing this work. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll tack on. I mean, I think that, I agree. I personally have no problem or concern with the issue of having Tammy as a resource to this district. I think that's fantastic. I think we have to manage a couple of things. Thank you for taking care of the legal part of it, keeping us out of jail. Appreciate that. I didn't think I needed help on that, but apparently I do. But you know, $250 an hour, that billing rate's fine for the type of person that we're getting. But I agree with Director Schmidt that I would want to see that we're capturing the appropriate work from her, which is not the doing. It's the strategizing and direction and making sure the review, if at all possible, so that we're maximizing our knowledge. This is a knowledge transfer.
Okay.
To me, this is a continuation of the knowledge transfer. We're not doing staff audit, right? Kind of thing. And so I'm kind of viewing this as a board member as the taper down, right? Not the constant. Like
Right.
It's a decreasing function, not a,
Right.
you know, one thought that I had as we're going forward is because I probably wouldn't normally ask this for just general consulting services, but because I look at this as kind of support services to the GM, is that the board sort of get a report, maybe quarterly or whatever, on the tasks that you've asked her to do, how much time and money she's spending, and we can at least have a dialogue of what that paper looks like, so that we can just continue to kind of pay tabs on it. I have no, we can figure out a way to afford 150. I'm not really worried about the budget. I'm not worried about the concept. I'm more worried about the execution of the transition. And it's really easy to then have Tammy, I'm just gonna say this, right, for lack of a better word, as a crutch as we're going, right, as the transition's happening. So I'm asking you guys to just manage it appropriately and then make sure we're coming back to the board with like, this is how we're relying on her services. This is the value that she's providing. I mean, I was actually having a conversation with a sub-round conversation with Rick Tavella about this is what Boston did when Art Jensen retired and Nicole took over, right? Is that Art was around. I totally get it. I 100% support it. I just want to make sure we're doing it and managing it. So those are my concerns.
Yes, and to me, these are the decisions that gives me those, you know, aching butterflies in the stomach. I don't like to make decisions like this because I know that we can, I'm pretty comfortable and confident that the legal aspect of it is done right, you know. But the optics, I'm uncomfortable with something like this. And I say this because in the same package, I'm reading that we're looking at $129,000 projected deficit. And we are putting $150,000 here on this contract. Granted, we may not spend it all. And hopefully you'll keep a close look at the spending. The other thing I'm basically voting on a contract with Accor, which for the functions that we're looking at, Accor would not have been the contract that I would look forward to look towards to do this kind of stuff, but I had a conversation with legal and there is a way how to do it. Looks like there is a way how to do it. You make sure you keep me out of jail, okay? But, and you heard with the other two directors, it is a little bit of an awkward position. And so I'm gonna stop here because I want legal to please kind of chime in here.
Okay, so I
Because
know,
I want to feel comfortable before we take this vote. This is a,
Well, that's
This
the
is-
threshold.
huh?
Oh, we're done.
and I
This is
think
something that really, you know, troubles me.
what we discussed and, you know, from a legal standpoint, county water district does not have to competitively procure anything. You're my only client that is blessed, maybe, or cursed. But for whatever reason, the legislature did not put those requirements on county water districts. So you do though have a policy that the board adopted that basically says, we will competitively procure, but it's your policy, you can waive it, and you do waive it, you know, when it's
We did,
appropriate.
yes.
So legally, as long as for the 1 year revolving door period, which is the state law, as long as the conflict of interest prohibition is complied with during that 1 year period, there's nothing, you know, that's not kosher here from a legal perspective. And, you know, as we discussed, there's a bunch of ways that people come back and help, right? I wrote Art's contract. When he came back as a retired annuitant. And then stayed for years, right? It was supposed to be a year, but how many years was it?
I have
No, I'm not
idea.
saying that's gonna happen with him.
Might have
but-
been longer than he was there for, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was a
No,
long
no,
time.
no.
It was a long time.
But the contract was very, that he was used very sparingly because he moved out of the area, actually. He went to Arizona.
And he was
So,
basically
very-
advising Nicole in the transition. She could have created her own company and you could have hired her that way. It's just a sort of a easier means to an end for her to join a company that's already created and has professional liability insurance and all the things you'd have to do to get a company up and running. So I'm not troubled from a legal standpoint as long as she, you know, complies with the conflict of interest rules. And I can help with that during that 1 year period. If she's still around after that 1 year period, she doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
You know, that we're busy.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So to Kat and to Rena, I hope you sense the feel, the uneasiness. And here we are, a few weeks ago, we're just singing the accolades, and here we are going like we're uncomfortable with somebody that we have worked with so close for so many years, you know? And then that is kind of the position that,
Yeah.
that we kind of find ourselves in at this point.
And just add on, or add some thought on what you just said. It has to me, has very little to do with any of the structure or the concept or anything else. It's more, I want to make sure we're moving in the direction that we invested heavily to get us to the state, to her retirement, you know, and with the idea that there would sort of, that there's gonna have to be an end, right? And that's the thing, it's like, okay, this is kind of like, we're managing the end process here. Let's make sure we're all on the same page, and that's what we're managing, right? And that's really kind of my request, is like that we're on that paper and that we're at the appropriate time. Kat's taking the leadership part of it, getting the advice on how to do things, and then, you know, using her judiciously as we move forward, so.
And I think that's part of the reason why we're talking with Jubin and talking internally that, you know, we want to use that task order process because then we can define it, right? And then we understand where the board's coming from. We do, you know, even though it's all legal and so on, and Julie can keep us out of jail, it does look kind of weird because again, she just retired. But, you know, we also want to try and finish these things. We want to get these things off of our plates and move on to other things. I mean, we've got now to deal with the remodeling or rehabilitation, whatever, Dairy Lane and other things that are important too. And, you know, there's just, we feel like there's an opportunity, but we get the board's position. And it is, you're right, you're entrusting us to manage that process. And I think, you know, working with Jubin and working with Tammy, she understands that too. I mean, we've had these conversations and say, well, you know, the board's probably gonna have some sensitivities to this because, you know, I'm just leaving here. But I think they also get the idea that there is this transfer of knowledge. And that's a lot of what it is. And so, you know, we're hoping that you will indulge us here and still have the trust that we're out looking in the best interest of the district, you know, trying to get through things.
So, Director, I'm sorry,
Jubin and then Kat, yeah.
I'm sorry, I feel like I have to make noise on this. I wanted to, this was different for us too. So we actually ended up hiring an outside counsel just for this matter, Myers-Novick, and which is totally, it's not something we do, because we wanted to make sure on our side, this was something that would keep us out of jail, but also the optics of it, right? And how this would look. The one thing I want to mention is that she did step down as general manager in June, so and then transition to another role. But what is really important to Tammy and what's important to us and what's important to Rena and Kat and hearing from you is that there's defined tasks, right? Tammy doesn't want to come back because she wants to enjoy retirement. She wants to come back and with a role of working on X and then being done with X and moving on to any other thing that she wants to do. And that was really important for us because we didn't want an open-ended contractual relationship with the district for her work because we wanted it well-defined, you know, via a task order, via this board packet and agenda item, what exactly she'll be working on, because it can't be that conflict of interest is really important to us, right? Or the lack of that conflict of interest, and to Julie and to Kat and Rena and to the board. So I wanted to let you know the process that we went through. And she's basically working with us at her leisure, you know, basically whatever she wants to do, she can do for this water district or other water districts. It's not something that she's working full-time or anything like that. She's an hourly employee and she'll do as she pleases, as she has done her entire career. So,
So, and that, as far as trust, Rena, you mentioned that, I think I will echo my colleagues here that it's because we trust you. Because we want to trust you, not anybody else outside this organization. You're it now for us, you know. Tammy was when Tammy was here. Tammy's not here. That's it. That page now is turned. And we want to look at you. We don't want to look at you, but with somebody else's help. Or look at you, but there's somebody else trying to come in. And when I see, you know, labor negotiations and stuff like that, it's like, okay, this is not Tammy's role, but this is you. And two of you especially, and that's who I would turn to, the two of you. I will not turn to Tammy anymore, like I used to before, so. Okay.
So, you know, I just wanted to point out, that, you know, all of the projects that we've, you know, envisioned and, you know, of course, Tammy helped come up with this list, and these are things that she has already spent a lot of time thinking about. They are her babies to kind of wrap up, and they're all, you know, finance or HR related things, which, as you know, I have the least experience with. And so, you know, I was excited to have her be able to take a big role in those so that I can learn through these processes. And that's my whole focus as well, is to be able to learn and to do the transition. So I hear what you're saying. And I also, on the budget number, because this was probably her first time ever coming up with the consulting budget hourly, which she put for her numbers. My first thought was, that works out to about 30% high.
I did the same math in my head.
So, you know, it's an upper bound, like every budget, it's an upper bound based on, you know, reasoned potential. But, you know, reality is always different than that. So, and as you know, I'm well versed at coming up with task order scopes and working to negotiate those. So, well, you know, we'll work through the process, and I hear exactly what you're saying. It's using her as support. She's a tremendous resource that we want to support.
Very good.
My turn, your turn.
There is a typo here, by the way. On the sentence of the discussion,
What page are you on, Louis?
on the first page of the item 8B, the Tammy board will be upper management.
It says be able.
Be able of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there's something missing.
Will be
there.
able to offer, should to offer management.
Anyway,
I'll
somebody
make a
will-
motion to approve resolution 2023-11.
Second. So we have a motion by Vice President Zuka and a second by Director Schmidt for resolution 2020. Okay.
Vice President Zuka,
Yes.
Director Schmidt,
Yes,
President Vella,
Yes.
and it's noted that Director Wheeler and Director Jordan are absent.
Move on to the next item.
You might have a couple things open now. You need to mute something or turn something off.
If you have a phone on.
You have your phone on?
No, I don't. No.
We're getting a real big bunch of feedback.
Usually it's when you have more than one thing open.
I don't know why it's helping it when we mute.
Yeah.
Do something on our side.
Yeah.
No, this is only when Alan talks to you.
Yeah. I'm getting very bad sound, but obviously with my mic on, it's worse.
Why don't you log off and log back on?
I'm having a bad flashback.
You know what, Al, you are in the system twice. Your name is in the system twice.
I think he just logged off, Monique.
See, his name is in the system twice. He's got two things open
Yeah,
twice.
do that.
You logged off once.
You can off the other one.
Don't give him a choice.
Competing. He's competing.
No.
Or just be. All right, well,
Let's see if he logs back in.
one moment.
I removed his second one, so when he logs back in, I'll just let him in once,
Okay,
or you can.
yeah.
Kathy, you gonna take this one?
Yes, I will. I'm gonna get started as Elle's joining. So tonight, we're asking you just to receive this report. The budget will come to you again next month. So this is the first look. The finance committee has already seen this budget or close to it. There's been some minor tweaks since. So I'll go through some of the main items here and then feel free to ask any questions, and Al and I will try to do our best to field the detailed questions. So for water commodity charges, we're estimating $10.6 million. So this is based on a couple things. So we looked at water sales for this last year, obviously knowing they're depressed from the drought, but we anticipate coming out of the drought officially, we'll mention that a little bit later, but likely in June, and the water contingency plan. We know, and we looked at historical, when we came out of the drought last time, the next year following a lifting of stage 2 and going to stage 1, water use actually only rebound by 5%. So knowing that there's potential rebound, but it's like, recent experience has been minimal. And coupled with the fact that rates will be going up by 9.7% due to the SFPUC pass-through. That's actually lower than they previously told us. They told us that 11.7, that's at 9.7 better, but that's, a healthy increase. So, we are essentially holding water use about the same, on that one. Water system capacity charges, we always budget this fairly low because it's based on development. We can't really truly anticipate what development's gonna do. Property tax revenue, estimating just a 5% increase, over last year. COP interest revenue similar, to last year.
So, sorry to interrupt on that one, while we're just on the capacity charge. If there truly are no unknown projects, should we be budgeting 0?
Well, there aren't no known. We're looking at the city of Belmont has quite a few larger projects in the works.
Okay.
We just can't truly guesstimate when those will hit, so.
Yeah.
And we could just as well budget 0, but we don't think 0 is likely either, so. So salaries and wages, if I can call your attention to the org chart. So salary, which is the last page of that section there. So salary and wages includes filling the 3 positions that are currently vacant, which includes some succession planning positions. So includes 2 additional lead, 2 lead operators and an additional administrative assistant. So the administrative assistant and 1 of the lead operators or succession for folks who will be age eligible and vested to retire within, the highlighted years, within 5 years. But, you can see on the org chart, all of the red highlights, those are folks that have the potential to retire. So we have quite a few openings, so that's what we're basing those new positions in the salary on. We also accounted for, the employee agreement that you approved last month, as well as, the costs that would be associated with moving to the 36-hour work week. Payroll taxes and benefits, estimating a 10% calendar increase for medical insurance. And Al can certainly speak to those details, so direct your questions to them. Purchase water, of course, is related exactly to what I discussed with the water commodity charges. Outreach and education, we are projecting a higher budget than we spent last year. And part of that is because we have 2 large Logging On program applications that are in the works. They've been in the works for quite a while, so we don't know if they'll hit next year, but we're gonna assume that they will. We're also assuming the potential for having had so much rain, folks might be more interested in the rain barrel program. And we're also gonna do some more marketing of our existing conservation programs. So that's
The Logging On, are they, what locations are they? Or what the type of buildings? They're a school, are they?
One of them is an HOA and it's, I want to say like around 6,000 square feet. It's a pretty large project. It's just been pending for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's over in the West Belmont area, over by the school, by the West Belmont tanks. That elementary school, there's an HOA over there. Yeah,
Okay. Not by Fox School, right?
I think the Fox, near the Fox School, yeah,
Oh my
That's-
God.
that's where I
Oh,
remember.
HOA? Okay.
yeah.
What's it called?
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, I forget the name of that HOA, okay. It's on, up of St. James, okay.
Yeah. Off the St. James.
Oh, yeah. Wow, okay, so they're gonna put what, like drought resistant landscaping?
That's what it is. They can't replace it with, artificial turf. It's gotta be drought efficient landscaping, yeah.
And then, so, professional services, we're budgeting, just over $1 million, and I know you have to have questions about the detail behind that, because it is one large bucket. So that includes, what we assumed, that you just approved for, the PAC board contract for Tammy support services. So that includes that estimated $150,000. District council cost of $100,000 and district engineer cost of $100,000. Projected customer billing expenses of $70,000. District treasurer estimated at $60,000, IT $50,000, and then miscellaneous of $400,000. So that's comprised of $100,000 for DACO, which is our on-call contractor service to support our field staff. $100,000 for OTS, so for temporary the service that provides temporary operators if we need that. $90,000 for John Davidson's services. $30,000 for SCADA audit. That's kind of a hand wave. We haven't engaged any firms to get a better estimate of that, but that's to assist in that. And $15,000 is what we estimate to do a review of billing, practices, audit, kind of cleanup, not cleanup, but, internal controls check. And then it's only $75,000 that we don't have earmarked, and that's for the, known unknowns that could occur that we want to budget for. So, it does include, so the overall operating budget, is, a projected, deficit right now, of 129,000. And so just to highlight that the last, fiscal year's original budget had a projected net loss of $380,000. Or sorry, that was 2021, 2022, and then last year's budget had a projected net loss of $300,000. So that, just par kind of for the course of the way we budget, assuming revenues are less and, expenses are higher, but within, reasonable. So, and then I think, Val, do you want to add anything on the operating budget?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you're just fine now,
Okay.
Al.
Good, thanks. Sorry about the technical difficulties. You did a pretty good job of covering it. I know you covered the water revenue, the fact that it's looking like the usage is really jumping right now, and that isn't budgeted for the most part. So I would say the odds of the water revenue coming in significantly higher than budgeted are probably 80-90% based on history and what's happening just right now, compared to it coming in lower. There's always that chance, but I think that's a pretty small chance.
And that was gonna be my next question. I think the projections will probably, the psychology of people is that, we have a lot of water, so
Yeah.
they probably are not going to be as disciplined as they have been in a drought year.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see when I show you some of the drought information, the uptick in the regional water supply deliveries by the SFPUC, and then even in our own community, over the past month, there's been a pretty substantial uptake. It's like 50 or 60% increase over the previous month. So I think, what you're saying, people are saying, okay, there's plenty of water. Let's get out there and turn on the water. It's gotten warmer too, so people have turned on their outside watering, and you'll see that.
Yeah, it's unseasonably warm.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see us easing, the conservation language, shifting more towards efficiency and stewardship. We'll still promote the conservation programs, but the focus is on efficiency.
Yeah. So I won't be surprised if that One Big On program will probably be pushed, delayed a little bit more by, because, I know the neighbors up there, they probably won't hold on to their green grass a little longer, they could. So.
Yeah, and the other thing going on with Olympic is the, state board did ban, non-functional turf for commercial, businesses. The non-functional turf being any turf that's used for aesthetic purposes.
Did you see everybody ripped it up in Palo Alto?
Yeah. Well, so I've been asking, keep an eye on a lot of the other agencies, and so is Brandon, of how they're addressing it, because, and no one in this area is actually really pushing hard and going after businesses. It's a tool, that one can use if you need really rapid conservation. That's an area you can go forward. We fortunately are not in a position where we're, gearing up for more conservation right now. But we might see, and we, are open to seeing a lot more, commercial, projects that will use a lot of to address that.
Louis, I don't know how much this affects budget, but again, it might be a question for Brandon. But my understanding is when you do the lawn be gone, you do you put in the new landscaping, it does not save as much water in that first year because you have to establish the plants. So that might be marketing for lawn be gone this year's. This is a great year to get your drought tolerant plants started because you got the water to do it with. And then next year, when the savings, when the drought comes back next year. It's a-
Will.
Very
Well,
true.
at some point.
Very true.
Is that right?
I mean, it sounds right. It takes a while for roots to take and,
Yeah, the young plants usually need more water to establish, and once they're growing, the trick is, it's not, depends how well your irrigation system is designed.
Right, yeah.
If you ever do revert, but hopefully most people have them well designed and notice the watering too much, but yeah, that's it.
All right, good.
Yeah, and then,
Anything else from Alan or from anybody on the budget?
should I go
We're
with the
gonna
capital
see-
budget?
We're gonna see this next month again, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, you will, and, just on, so, for next month in particular, I just want to highlight, so, hopefully there's no concerns with the pass through. We don't have to go through a Prop 218, process for that, because that was already done for 2 years, but we do have to do a 30-day notice, so for those rates to be implemented on July 1st, we'll have to notice, the public. And so we'll have the public notice card ready, so if you, approve the budget in May, then we'll be able to, or even just pass through, we'll be able to send those out. Just to give you the heads up, so if you have any questions regarding that, give them the draft.
Kat, have you been talking to other GMs, as to how they're gonna approach this? Because I know some people are gonna, some agencies are gonna just do the pass through, others are gonna have to do the pass through, and some, because they still have some catch up, so.
I haven't yet had any conversations with folks about this. The notice actually went into our spam folders, so we didn't get it right away. We noticed that, so, yeah, but I think, we've already kind of had forethought to do and address the pass through. And I know that, finance committee, we've had a couple of conversations of if we, go do our own rate adjustment, at what point it makes sense to do that.
Correct.
And so, yeah, I can inquire.
If the weather's like this, it's good to do the weather adjustment, if the weather starts getting showers again, it goes like.
Gonna rain by the end of the week. Yeah, supposed to rain next week. Yeah.
You're increasing the rates and it's raining again.
Yeah. Any questions on the capital budget? 'Cause I didn't go through that, but I think we've got a chance to look at it.
No, I mean, I've seen this at the finance committee, so I'm okay with it. So, go ahead.
Just a comment that I'm kind of glad to see an organization that says, yeah, we're actually kind of lowballing revenues and highballing expenses. Because everyone says they don't do that, but
Yeah,
they
I
do.
know.
So I'm glad we're just kind of.
Yeah.
It's transparency.
Saying the truth.
Yeah.
The right way to do it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. I'm not saying.
Only
don't
get that
do it.
good luck.
Just saying, we're not actually trying to be as accurate as possible.
We're not doing brain surgery here. We have to be under.
Yeah, so. Okay. Just a comment.
Good. All right, so we'll move on, right? Special report,
Yeah.
thank you. And so we'll go to, eight B, which is approved resolution 2023-12, authorizing destruction of district records damaged in the flood.
I think you just said it all, Louis. When we were, we had just a bunch of records that, as we were outgrowing our space over there, things were just piled up on the floor, okay? We didn't have enough space to put everything out of the flood zone, so to speak, and we didn't think about it until the proverbial storm hit us, right? And then we just found that there were just a lot of boxes that had records, official records of the district that got wet and saturated. And I mean, they were saturated and they just started to smell. They started to turn moldy. So this is not good. We're not gonna be able to salvage this unless we spend a lot of money trying to find a company that might dry out every single page or something like that of some sort of record. And so we just said, you know what, let's just talk to Julie and find out how can we do this? Because there are some records, and she goes, well, you need to document all the different files that you're talking about getting destroyed. So before Tammy left, and one of our new employees, Liz Gansky, they spent, I don't know, maybe a week or so, different days, but over a week period of time, just documenting all these cardboard boxes that were wet, had mold growing on them. They had masks on, gloves on, and Tammy was looking at the particular file. And she was telling Liz, this is what you want to call it. And so that list that's included here, that 11 pages of files are those files that, are moldy, still wet, and we're just recommending they need to be destroyed because we're not gonna be able to save them. And all we needed to do for history purposes and for official purposes with the resolution, have that list of the documents that got rid of. And then it was suggested that if there were some photocopies, some digital copies, that we add the digital copies along with the resolution of file. And of course, the resolution, we have, binders that have these resolutions that go back to when the district started. So there's another official record. Those we don't keep on the floor, but we try and put them in a safe place. So we're asking the board to adopt this resolution that will allow us to destroy these documents because there's just no way that we can save them.
If I could just add, it wasn't just that they're wet. I mean, most of them, the old ink just bled everywhere. So I mean, you couldn't, there's no one that ever covered that.
There are some which are recent files though too as well, right? So if we're asked to produce them and they are damaged, what do we say at that point? Sorry,
They were just.
the fire, the flood, whatever took it.
Yep.
And that's it, and we're not,
If you don't have them, you don't have them.
okay,
It's not like you're hiding them someplace. They're gone.
We could produce them. Saying.
With a disclaimer.
Yeah. PPE required.
yeah,
Yeah.
For the fleet.
okay. And I read through them and some of them are people we know. right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, but, right, so legally, we're not obligated to try to stash them somewhere away from people in case.
No, I mean,
To
if-
defend ourselves,
If you could save them, right, somehow. Then there might be some categories of records, I would say, get those restored. But my understanding is they're not salvageable, so why? What would be the point of storing them?
no, they're not salvageable.
Right,
All right, oh. So, anything else on this
That's it.
item?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, any comments for tomorrow before we, okay, so fire away.
A motion to approve resolution 2023-12.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Okay, so, Director Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice President Zuka,
Yes.
President Vella,
Yes,
noted that Directors Wheeler and Jordan are absent.
very good. Next, 2023 first quarter water conservation staff report.
Well, since Brandon's here, we will hand it over to him
Sticking around.
to go over some of the highlights and the things he's proud of.
So yeah, this is my 2023 first quarter water conservation staff report. There's 4 items here. I'm just gonna go over the first 2. If you guys have questions about the other 2 items, feel free to ask. So this is the Bosca agency landscape education course. So Bosca annually assists its member agencies in offering free educational courses to the public each spring and fall. On June 8th of this year, Mid-Peninsula Water District will be hosting a 2-hour virtual education course from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. that will focus on the importance of utilizing native and drought-tolerant plants within residential landscapes. We feel it's important to educate the community on the importance of plant selection, as well as the fact that incorporating native and drought-tolerant plants can go a long way for water efficiency, as well as reducing monthly water bills. Bosca has assisted Mid-Peninsula Water District in securing a local landscape expert who will be present to answer any questions that the public may have on this topic. The presenter for this class will be Juanita Salisbury. Juanita is a local landscape architect that has been helping create drought-tolerant landscapes throughout California for over 20 years. And then, my second,
Sorry, first one,
Yeah.
how are we advertising that?
currently it's on our website as well as Bosca's website, and it's under the workshop and courses tab, I think under water conservation. Yeah,
I'm wondering if there's any way we can, like, leverage about the city of, if we're hosting it, can we leverage the city of Belmont and get word out somehow? I mean, try to blanket that.
Yeah, we actually, they offered and reiterated their offer. We've advertised something through them through the newsletter, so we will definitely reach out.
So when our customers go into our website to look at their bill, because that's probably what we're gonna go in for, is there a way that something like this will pop up in front of them?
The webinar itself, or just an advertisement for it?
Ad for it, yeah.
Yeah, as part of the banner, or what's the right term, makes the banners, the thing at the top with the kind of scrolling.
Yeah.
Things that pop up, we'll have one of those.
Like last time I was on the website, and all of a sudden, the banner came up about the main break on Comstock. You're like, whoa.
We've had that for a while, Louis.
Huh?
We've had that for a while.
Yeah, but it didn't come up right away, and then all of a sudden it came up, so something like that,
okay, so, subject number 2, was the City of Belmont's Earth Day celebration, which was last weekend. Mid-Peninsula Water District participated in the City of Belmont's annual Earth Day celebration. The first Earth Day celebration was held in 1970 with the purpose of rallying support around the importance of environmental protections. Today, over 190 countries engage in Earth Day, and the event draws around 1 billion participants worldwide every year. On April 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., staff from Mid-Peninsula Water District joined representatives from various local agencies at Twin Pines Park to celebrate Earth Day. Staff were present to help educate the public on environmental issues, as well as connecting with the public and spreading the word regarding the great service that MPWD provides. On top of providing vital environmental information to the public, the event will serve as a site for e-waste recycling, sensitive document shredding, and the supplying of free composting materials. Staff handed out promotional items that we believe will help keep MPWD in the mind of the community long after the Earth Day celebration has passed.
So what'd you guys hand out, Brendan? What were the gifts, the goodies?
We handed out t-shirts, water bottles, these like really cool misters that are probably nice on a hot summer day. We handed out a lot of information.
You have a little garden shovels and.
Yeah, we had some gardening tools, a nice shovel and a little trowel, and yeah, it was a really cool event connecting with the community, and there's probably a couple hundred people there. It was, yeah, I feel like it was a success.
Did you have a lot of people that stopped by and actually ask you questions about, water conservation or water in general?
Yeah.
Not just to stop by and collect a t-shirt and keep on.
Yeah, we, for a couple of the items, I had people answer a trivia question and just to give them a piece of knowledge. And then we had people ask about a lot of the projects that were currently going on that they see around the neighborhood. A lot of people were asking about the projects that's going on up on Hastings. And yeah, it was cool.
If I can add, I was there, I couldn't stay the whole time, but I was there for the first, I guess, couple hours. And it was a blast. So Brandon and I think Mike stayed the whole time too, right? So they were there building questions, but residents were so engaged. And some of them were so excited about water conservation, in particular, if they're excited to tell us, like all the things they've done, like they've taken out the turf, they put in the rain garden, they changed the turf, so, it was a lot of fun.
People are very proud and they want to talk about it, because of what they.
Yeah.
There's a lot of,
And Brandon did a great job chatting with folks and engaging them with those trivia questions.
very good, very good. All right. Very good. So we're gonna have a report like this once a quarter.
Is Jeanette would provide you, remember, once a quarter. So Brandon's gonna take he's taking Jeanette's place, so to speak.
Go ahead.
So we'll be hearing from Brandon quarterly.
Good.
I had a question, conservation related question. Was listening to a water podcast called Water Talk, which is mostly about water in Texas. And they're talking to a water conservation person in the city of Austin. And they're making a big deal about how they're right now installing smart meters. So I'm like, good for you guys. But they did say something interesting. I don't know if we're doing this or not. They said with their smart meters, they have a 3-tier pricing system similar to what we've got. They said in the first 8 days, if somebody is projected to hit the 3rd tier, they'll send out an automatic notice that you're heading towards high water bill.
Yeah.
Do we do that?
We don't have that capability.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at people's accounts, but nothing that I'm aware of that pops up and says, hey, Matt Zuka's home is gonna be hitting the 3rd tier. We probably need to maybe look at some different software or something like that. I'm curious. Did they mention a name of a company or anything like that,
I bet I could dig it up and find the name of the person.
Just data software, I mean, the service we subscribe to do not do it, but
Yeah.
we're collecting the data.
Yeah, we're collecting the data.
It sounds like it's automatic and it just pings the person
cool.
automatically.
And maybe our system has the issues, we just don't.
Yeah, I know that it'll let us know that if it appears that somebody's got a leak just because they have water running all the time, and we will contact customers saying, hey, are you aware of this? And then we get in the dialogue with folks, and lots of times they'll find out, maybe it'd be something like a flapper valve on their toilet or something. That just seemed typical, but sometimes, there's a problem with the sprinkler outside that they weren't aware of type thing, But yeah, we don't have any that pops up and says, okay, this customer of ours is getting into tier 2 or tier 3, and then send them an email.
So, bro, what happens then? I mean, after 8 days of progressive going, is there like an alarm or how?
As I understood from what they're saying, I'm not sure there's any human on the water district side that does anything. I think the software just figures out this person's heading towards, or this unit heading towards.
Automatically send them the announcement.
And then it's up to them if they're
The
gonna do
warning,
anything.
basically.
But the speaker said they see a response.
Huh.
People change their trajectory. So,
Well,
I mean, people that subscribe to our water portal, right, they can go in there and take a look at what their home usage is, all the time, almost real time, but I'm not sure how many people literally go out there and pay that much attention. There might be somebody like the family you're talking about that was really into water conservation, but most people just don't, we
And it
don't.
may not be something super sophisticated. It literally could be, it takes you 20 units. Anybody on day that's at 7, we're gonna send an email to. It's like just a one, and they don't send anything on day 9 or 10 or anything. It's just they do it once a month,
right.
and then the rest of it's just done that, AMI, so to speak. But it's possible, it's super simple.
We can look and see if our system is capable of that. I'm not as familiar with the reports and all those things, but.
Yeah, it could just be a report run once a month and then they just send on an email or whatever.
Yeah, I know my PGD has a thing where it said, you set the amount, but I get an email that says if I'm projected, my bill is projected to go over whatever X dollars. I said, so, fairly simple math, I think, but.
I will dig out the contact and send it to you.
very good. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Brandon. Doug, thank you, Brenna. All right. We'll move on to report of the California San Francisco Regional Water System Drought Condition.
Yeah, so let's open up with this photo, and we received a report from the SFPUC just talking about water resources in general in the Hetch Hetchy system, and one of their operators up in the Hetch Hetchy region took this photograph, at the beginning of the year. It was really pretty. I gotta share this. And so the waterfall on the left, that's a big one. I'm pretty sure that's the Wapama. I got to take a tour of Hetch Hetchy several years ago. And I remember at that time, it was, in the springtime, springtime or maybe early summer.
They're going again on Monday.
Are they going on Monday?
Well, it might be, but all Yosemite's closing down, it's flooding. So I know this is different, but
This is from the water people, so.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of flooding.
There's a lot of water, yeah. So the waterfall on the left is Wahama, and there's just a really nice trail that goes around the O'Shaughnessy Dam there. And when we spent that time there, we got to walk out there. So I walked out there and there's a really nice trail. And right there's a really nice wooden bridge, but they also tell you it's very dangerous because the water's falling down and people have been killed there because they're not paying attention. And the water pushes them out and damages them. But this one is just showing there's just so much water that's come down in the watershed that there's a bunch of other waterfalls that have sprung from all the rains. I just thought it was a really neat
That
picture.
is beautiful.
Yeah. So just kind of taking a look at where we're at. Again, the last couple of months I've been showing the board, where we're at a year ago. So this is a look at California's drought map, March 29, 2022. And so you can see the large areas of red, which is the extreme drought, right? And here we are a year later, April 4th, 2023. And with all that rain, there's just very little signs of drought, just a few places in the Sacramento Valley. And then a few places probably out there in the Mojave Desert, even Death Valley. I think that one orange spot out there literally is in Death Valley. And then the US map, the drought monitor, again, last year, the map, you can see all the drought in the West and even in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, there were some areas of exceptional drought in those parts of the country that, we don't hear too much about that, but they were there. And a year later, it kind of cleaned up on the West Coast. But if you look again there in Kansas and Oklahoma, they're experiencing some very exceptional drought right now at this point in time. San Antonio is right there, right in the middle of Texas. That's about San Antonio, exceptional drought. The reservoir conditions, this is last year. And again, I like to point out the Shasta, which is up on top left last year. It was about 48% of where it should be historical levels and 30% of its capacity. The one to the right is the Oroville. It was at 48% of its historical and 67% of historical and 40% of its capacity. And then on the far right in the middle is the Don Pedro. That's where the water storage bank for the SFPUC is located. So you can see it was actually not in bad shape compared to the other ones. And a lot of it is because of the water bank that the SFPUC has there. And then I always point out the San Luis Reservoir, which is the one just to the left of the state of California, the Bay Area there. And again, last year at this time, it was at 46% of its level and 53% of the historical level for that period of time. A year later, everything's full. The Shasta Dam is 107% of historical, Oroville 115, Don Pedro 112, even the San Luis Reservoir is 116%. So everything's full right now. And, they're still expecting a lot of snow to be melting. And as we've been hearing about, flood situations, the rivers, the Merced River, the Kings River, you've been hearing about the Tulare Lake, something that doesn't happen that often, flooding areas of the Central Valley. The water storage in the regional water system in the middle of the table is what it looked like on April 3rd, 2023. And if you take a look at the Hetch Hetchy and Cherry Reservoir and Lake Eleanor, they're lower than their maximum storage capacity. And that's because they've been releasing water because they're expecting a lot of snow melt. Take a look at the far right-hand side last year on April in 2022, and they were a lot higher because I think they could sense that they just weren't going to have as much snow melt. They could have more water stored in there. They just weren't releasing as much. They're probably keeping some of it back. But anyways, the water situation this year is just a lot better overall for all of us. Their water bank's full. The forecast, and you heard Matt say that there is some rain that's expected even next week. This is a couple of weeks old. So we'll see how much that happens. I was looking at my phone and, they're talking about snow in Yosemite, so they're still getting snow. Hetch Hetchy precipitation from the SFPUC system, yeah,
Snow.
yeah, still get some snow. Probably not, 12, 14, 20 inches of snow, but still getting some snow, maybe half foot.
Well, the key is that they'll stop the melting.
Yeah,
Right.
right. It'd be
That's
cold
the-
enough, right?
That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Preserve
flooding.
If it's at 10,000 feet, that's different than, there's a lot of other snow, which is at a lower elevation that continues to melt.
Yeah. Lots of precipitation Hetch Hetchy system. It's kind of following along or mirroring 1983, which is one of the record years in the SFPUC system for precipitation up in the hills. And here's kind of what it looks like graphically in a bar chart in the upcountry, just lots of rain in December, January, and March. the Bay Area kind of reflected the upcountry, you know, in January, December, January, March, we had lots of rain, you know, really almost most of the time, 3 times the norm, right? That's just a lot of rain. And then I found this website that just will post information about rainfall in the different cities throughout the entire state. So I just pulled out some ones I thought were interesting. Again, this is this year between July 1 of 2022 through April 3rd, 2023. And if you look at that first column, it says rainfall July 1 to April 3rd in inches. So San Francisco downtown had received almost 33 inches of rain. Normal for that same period of time is 20 inches. So they're about a foot over what the normal is, right? So it's 159% of normal. Last year, they were at 17.5 inches, where the normal rainfall said was for the entire rain season is 23 inches. So they were probably tracking pretty good, but I mean, just the difference in the rainfall, you know, this year and last year, that's, you know, 15 inches of rain. And then of course, there's Palm Springs at the very bottom. You know, they had 4.5 inches of rain between July and April these past few months, which is a lot for them. Compared to last year, they had just 2 inches of rain. And then the snowpack, you know, Mr. Ritchie was telling us that when they went out and measured it, you know, it was at 250% of normal. You see the black line here is what they're measuring it against. And again, he said, I think he said it was 1983, the snowpack was so large, it wouldn't even fit on this chart, so they don't even put it out there. But I mean, you can see where 2023 is. It's just it's a really a record year for snowpack up in the upcountry that's part of the watershed. And then, of course, that just helps the system receive water from down the Tuolumne River, you know, so whereas last year, if you look on the far right side, we received a total of 201,000 acre feet. And we need about 620,000 acre feet to fill the system. We've already received or been able to take over 1 million acre feet of water. So that's, you know, we're probably on a pace, and it'll be interesting to see by the end of the year if we get up to that 3,300, you know, 3 million acre feet of water that gets into the system, just because there's just that much water. It's just starting to melt now. So this is what I talked about earlier. We're talking about the budget and water, what we're seeing. This is actually a little bit old. This is the beginning of the month. And so you can see that the water use by the regional system is actually even lower than 2015. People were just still thinking about, hey, you know, probably water conservation. It's been wet outside with all this rain. They're just not turning on the water. Good night, Brendan. And it's just still reflected in the deliveries, you know, but what we're going to see is that's going to change over the next month or so. Again, here locally, our use in the community here very much mirrors a regional water system in March, at the end of March. You know, our GPCD for the residential is 44 gallons per day per person. And the 68,000 units of water was actually really low. And in fact, I was talking with Jonathan. He's the one who's been keeping the track of our usage now that Brent's gone. And the 68,000 is like one of the lowest months reported ever for us. You know, it's just people aren't using water. And I think it's a combination of, you know, we've educated them on the conservation and they've taken it to heart. And then again, we've just had this really wet winter saying you just don't need to turn the water on. We need water inside to wash dishes, wash clothes, go to the bathroom, but that's it, you know, no watering outside. And so this is the last one, just the cumulative use, just kind of comparing what a target's been set for us. Even though one hasn't been set, I just used a 2022 target from the SFPUC. That's that blue line that's going up. And then the orange line is our 5-year average. The orange bar is our 5-year average. And then you see a green line just kind of hugging the orange line. And you see the green bar, those are our actual use. So we're actually close to last year right now, and we'll see how that plays out the rest of the year as you know, maybe people feel comfortable if there's just more water available. That'll be good for a revenue picture. So that's just some information shared. It's fun gathering information. You know, I probably spend, you know, maybe a couple hours putting this together, but it's really interesting. And to me, it just you know, looking at how things have changed and sharing it. And I just hope other people, you know, maybe even the community, think that the information is just interesting to see. It's maybe even useful to some degree to them.
Very good. It's a impressive figure, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And it's something that I have never seen since I've been on the board.
Wow.
I've never seen. a chart.
82, you know, but I wasn't looking at charts in 82. I was running around.
when I was
on each call from the fire department at the time.
when I was a kid, my dad worked for the Boswell Company. They're a big ag farmer in the valley, and he didn't work at the Corcoran Ranch, which is where the Tulare Lake is. He worked at a ranch near the Lemoore Naval Air Station, another big ranch. But anyways, he took my brother and I out there on just a little field trip to show us what this Tulare Lake looked like, and I've shared it with some of the people. Cat's probably heard us more than once. But anyways, you know, he just wanted to show us how much water was in there. So, you know, he took us as close as he could to this cotton gin, and a cotton gin is a big building, probably 30, 40 foot tall. And literally all you could see was like the top, maybe 8 to 10 foot of the cotton gin. The rest of it was just inundated with water, and it was buried in. There's a bunch of equipment in there, right? The cotton gin, a lot of power equipment, a lot of mechanical equipment. That gin was submerged in water, you know, and that's what those people are preparing for right now, is just being inundated. It happens from time to time, but over the years, you know, the farmers and ranchers around there have levied and dike and this and that to try and protect as much as they can. But, you know, right now there's just so much water that Mother Nature is just going to overwhelm them, you know, and the communities there, you've heard about Corcoran and the little community of Alpal and Allensworth, you know, they're trying to see what they can do to protect their communities from flooding, you know, and they say the water is going to be in that Tulare Lake for probably a couple of years before it all percolates or evaporates.
82, we lived in an apartment building in Elwood City, no kids. And the parking lot was a little sunken parking lot. And one of the nights, somehow there's something wrong with the pump. And it rained heavily, and there were like 50 cars. You couldn't even see the top of the car.
Wow.
Oh, every single one. And as luck would have it, I didn't find a spot, so I parked in the street because I was really early in the morning. My car was not down there.
Wow, look.
And we only had one car at the time. Yeah.
One thing I read about Tulare Lake is that one difference between now and the past is we've had 5 to 10 years of subsidence in that area.
But deeper now.
It's deeper now than it was in the past. So it could take even longer
Yeah.
for it to clear. Some people are saying maybe it shouldn't clear.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Keep it.
1983 was the first year I moved to the States from Puerto Rico, and I'm like, this place is miserable. It rains every day and it's foggy on Davis. Like, it's foggy or it's raining.
Yeah.
What,
And you were living in the Bay Area?
now I was living in Davis.
Oh,
So you're in Sacramento
It was
Valley.
either truly fog
Yeah.
or it was raining, like for 6 months.
okay, tulip fog, yeah.
I'm like, and then it. doesn't bust up.
Then you go like, oh,
30
this
years
is
later,
Arizona,
yeah,
California.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Jubin, are you lonely?
I'm very lonely. I want to get noticed, though.
You start singing. All right. AG, direction regarding the election of Aqua, the PIA Executive Committee. Who's gonna take this one?
I was gonna take this, Louis. So at the 2023 conference in Monterey, starting on May 8th, Monday, Aqua JPA Executive Committee, the board is actually gonna meet, and they're looking to fill 4 seats on their executive committee. So yesterday, we restitched this and sent the information out to you folks. You should have gotten a packet that looked like this, and it had the 12 people who are vying or asking for the support. 2 of them are incumbents. And so, Kirk and I are the people that are on with JPI's list to go out and vote. Brian was on there, but when we updated it last fall before the fall conference in Indian Wells, we updated it. So Kirk and I are on there. Kirk is not going to go. And I was talking to Brian about this because I was asking if he wanted to go in case we wanted to do something because he'd been on there past, and you're going to go to the Aqua conference. And I told him I was planning on just going to the JPA if Kirk wasn't going to go just to vote. So, I mean, we can do that if the board wants to. You know, I can plan to go that day on Monday and vote on behalf of the district on the candidates that you guys want us to support. So that's why this document's on here to talk about if you want to do that, and then who is it that you want me to vote for? And I'll show up that Monday, I think it's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and, you know, participate in the vote for these 4 executive committee members. I don't know any of them. I took a look at, you know, where they're from, and it found out that about half of them are from Southern California and half of them from Northern California. So the incumbent, Fred Bachmiller, he's an incumbent. He's from Southern California, Newport Beach area. The other incumbent, Bruce Rupp, Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District incumbent. He's in Northern California. That's Humboldt, right? You know, and so June Hayes is from Southern California. Lou Yang, she's from Southern California in the Anaheim area. Andy Morris from Southern California near Lake Elsinore. Lynette Pacheco, also Southern California, Baldwin Park. John Pang is from Tahoe. Scott Ratterman, Northern California, east of Stockton along Highway 99. That's where the Calaveras County Water District is located. Oliver Smith, Valley Center Municipal, they're in San Diego area. Pamela Tobin, she's been very well involved in Aqua stuff for years. She's from the San Juan Water District in the Sacramento area. John Weed, I think that name's familiar to some of us here. Yeah, Alameda County. And then David Wheaton from Citrus Heights, which is in the Sacramento area. You know, and I didn't know how you guys are gonna feel about this. I just tell myself, well, you know, okay, so what if we bounce it out? We got some people from Southern California and some from Northern California. Right now, if the board wanted just to support the incumbents, you've got Fred Bachmiller from Newport Beach, Southern California, and you've got Bruce Rupp, he's from Humboldt Bay. And then there just maybe a couple other people, you know, one from SoCal, one from NoCal. that might it could be a coin flip, you know.
We will go for. Right? John Lee?
I know who he is. We want to vote for him.
I mean, he's up here.
He's up here, he's ACWD.
Yeah, and he's probably, he's gonna pull for the north.
For the north. Is there, I mean,
Does it matter for JPIA particularly?
Yeah, it's all about, you know, the insurance,
They,
you know.
they
talk about
probably have a better idea of
Yeah.
our
some
situation.
sensitivities, maybe, yeah.
That's all, you know, but other than that,
I think personally, kind of the reason why I want to go to JPIA is, I mean, do we care? Do we care? Is it worth Brenda's time to go there just to vote on this?
I just don't know how to discern candidates other than your recommendation of geographically.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know, and so like, okay, and how then appropriate is it to vote on geography? I don't know. I don't even have an opinion on that because it's just too hard. It's like voting for judges on the ballot, you know, I don't know who are.
yeah. But to, you know, Mr. Smith's point though, to be even vote. I mean, it'll be nice to have a vote there, you know. But-
Yeah,
So you'd have to take a ride all the way down.
It's,
there?
I'd go from Gilroy, right? You know, that's where I'm at during a week, and it's a 45 mile drive or something like that from Gilroy to Monterey. So it's not,
The night that night anyway.
I drive this afternoon, I would drive, you know, leave at 10 in the morning or whatever, and get there and done, come back and be at the district office the next morning.
Oh, you're not going to Aqua on,
I'm not gonna go to the conference. I got some other things I could be doing. Kat's gonna be there, schmoozing and learning everything that going on. at Aqua.
Brian, you gonna go as well?
absolutely.
I mean, I tend to agree with Director Schmidt on this one, that I'm not sure it's worth a day of our general manager's time to go down and place his vote when it's as uninformed as it is. If we had an informed vote.
You know, it's interesting that the information is just barely coming out, you know, so I mean, there is some votes for the president, vice president, right, for Aqua,
Yeah.
right? And I sent that email out to you guys yesterday. And so that's a long drawn out process where, you know, you got to just submit that you're interested in it. And eventually, if somebody here wanted to be a part of it, you know, the board got to adopt a resolution, but that's going to take place in the fall, the voting, right?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be some time to learn something.
Yeah.
This just all of a sudden seemed to come up on us. It came up on,
People declaring their candidate. I mean, you know,
yeah, hey, will you support me? Holy cow,
Yeah.
you know, and then we didn't get any, yeah. So, yeah, it's up to you. I mean, if you don't think it's worth the time, that's fine. I just said, if you want somebody to represent the district, I can do it. It's not that far for me to go, but I just need to know who it is you want us to vote for.
Again, I would say if you were going down to the conference, then tacking on an extra half a day, probably not that big a deal, and you
Yeah.
get there the night, you'd be going down that night anyway, and it's 4 hours. Now we're talking, you're gonna be carving out half a day just for the sake of the boat. I'm
Okay.
not seeing it
All right.
personally, But
That's cool. That's good. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
You're
not
welcome.
much excitement on this time here.
Jubin, what do you think?
I'm sitting there going, I wouldn't wanna do that. Do I want?
I will be there receiving all the other sessions from the topic area, so I can report out what they have to say.
All right, cool. Yes, okay, that horse.
Nope.
Next, management report.
Yeah, so let's go.
7 PM.
Yeah. So on this one,
You
what,
guys wanna take a 2 minute?
yeah, you want to take a couple minutes? Yeah,
2 minutes.
Yeah.
okay.
I just need a cookie.
We took 2 minutes.
Okay.
Because the legal left us, so we didn't know.
I'm gonna go to jail.
Yeah. We could end up in jail.
Quick, do something.
I think it's not there anymore. They're in there now?
Oh, no,
There's some cookies still up there.
No.
And there's some water, bottled water, and I think some apple juice and some other things.
Jubin, you want a cookie?
I'm good. Julie, I'm gonna ask Julie to sit on the side so we can get a little bit more balance. All good.
Sit with me, please.
Somebody.
or make sure that Brandon can leave.
Yeah, well, I think there's a Monique seat, right, or something, or am I moving to the other side next time? I think I was on that
You'll
side.
have to wait and see.
Dubin is, Rena is in my seat.
Oh, I see.
I was gonna text him and be like, why are you sitting in my seat?
Oh, so Julie goes with Brenna. That's what happened, right? So Julie goes with you, follows you wherever you go.
Gotta keep
So
me out of
Monique was
jail.
On that side and I'm, okay, that makes sense. All right.
I
That makes
think there are
sense.
just a lot of kids there.
Yeah,
That makes sense why I'm a loser on this side. All
But
right.
you know, what's funny is I had to look twice to see. I was like, who is that in the green shirt? I had to get really close to my camera. I was like, whoa, somebody went to the barber.
Don't let the reflection hurt you. Once a year, Monique, once a year.
Really? So that was a whole year's worth of growth?
No, just once a year I shave. So gotta make
Oh.
sure I find stuff that's in there, clean it all out.
all the food crumbs.
All the food.
You get all the riffraff out?
Everything
Hidden
out,
treasures.
hidden treasures, yeah.
Gold doubloons.
Yeah.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, that's not. What's the point?
That's the point, yeah, exactly. It's like- Yeah, got me.
It's all personnel. I've got 288 special accommodation. I've got a discipline, that's like all my time.
Welcome to administration.
I've been, it never seems like it's
It's never,
it's never been all of it. It's all in there.
and you walk in and you don't know what that day is gonna. I walked in on, we're gonna start back up or, we're all here, so I'll say this story.
30 seconds. When-
I walked in on Monday, I had a check for $12,346 from the IRS.
Hmm.
They just randomly sent a check for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like you look at it, like somebody got pissed off at the IRS and just, and I called, 2.5 hours on hold, call them up and they're like, oh, just put void and mail it back to us. I'm like, what is, they didn't call, like, it was.
So it was a mistake?
It was a mistake. Oh, absolutely it was a mistake. We're into it.
Wow.
We know, but it didn't. You don't get
That's a
money
strange number though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, it was just my partners and I were like, somebody got pissed at the IRS that they were leaving or something, like, screw it, we're just gonna send random people check
You.
to.
Well, you wonder how many of them went out,
Yeah, and then how many people actually
involved?
called, right? Like, that was,
There might be another one which is 94321.
it was crazy. It was, but like you were saying, just random stuff that you don't,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to be on call with IRS. Not engineering.
Non-engineering. Exactly.
Anyways, all right, we'll move on to item 9A. Manager report, interim general manager.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring up and is because we had a little chat about this, Louis, with Tammy's retirement last month. And some of the comments made by like the Employee Association and others, about the board considering maybe naming a facility or something like that after her or on her. I just wanted to bring it up and see if the board, has a desire to want to bring it up at some point in time in the future and discuss this. Right now, we don't have everybody here tonight, but I didn't think about that. But I mean, so I just want to throw that out there and see if you guys at some point in time want to talk about it, so we can agendize it. And we can talk about it maybe during one of the agenda conferences that we have in the future. But something to think about, because again, I think. We had folks in the not community, but from staff that were really supportive of it, and I just don't want to let that lay down. And then,
I think the part of it is that we want to make sure that we get the sort of the pulse of all of the directors
yeah,
as to how to proceed on that matter before we start becoming formal in the conversation, if you will. And we talked about this in the agenda review meeting, so just so that everybody hears, I think what the conversation before about is like, let's make sure we have a forum of all five. And then everybody's sort of on the same page. Yeah, we want to agendize that. And have a forum, because I just don't want to get to the point where then we agendize it and then we say no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't help anybody.
it doesn't help anybody, and that's it. Everybody's not here tonight, so
Yeah.
we'll talk about it and see when it's appropriate or if it's appropriate.
Okay.
And then in terms of future board meetings, like I said, so next month in May, we'll be bringing to the board the adoption of the budget, the operating budget and the capital budget. And along with that, as Kat mentioned, there's that 9.6% or whatever pass-through from the SFPC. We've been working with John Davidson to put together a card, but that won't be formalized until the board adopts a budget, because with that in there, in that budget is their rate adjustment and the pass-through rate adjustment. And then in terms of operations, not much support other than, we noticed that finally the underground service alert request for the last few months, I think it's just because it was so wet, there just weren't a lot of requests. That just kind of gives an idea of how much construction is going on. So for the last few months, it was just a little below 200, where it's typically well above 200. So we had 287 requests in during the month of March, which is kind of getting back to normal, getting back to busy again. And knock on wood, we didn't have any water leaks again during the month of March, though we had one yesterday. But I was talking to the staff, to Michael, and he was saying that is actually a contractor was doing some work on somebody's property because our water main happened to be behind the sidewalk. And so they poked it. It was over in your neck of the woods, Louis, over in Comstock, and so, but other than that, we haven't had any water main breaks. And it's typically the time of year when the ground starts, shrinking or swelling. The ground shifts and moves and we start seeing them, but we haven't seen anything yet. So that's a good thing. And then just development activity, we just got a lot of things in play, and we'll see how many of those come to fruition in the form of either water service agreements or water supply assessments. And we'll take to heart what the board was talking about in terms of trying to see how those things, those developments are impacting our water demand and how close we're getting to the ISG. I mean, and that's part of the reason why, we're trying to participate in some of these other activities, like these alternative water supply programs that are nearby and so on, just so that we can kind of be prepared, for the future, so that we don't get to a position where we have to limit growth. But fortunately, we're not there yet. So I don't have anything else that I wanted to bring about. Is there anything on there in my reports that caught the board's attention that you have a question on?
Boss, one of the things we had a very productive meeting with the city of Belmont, our quarterly meeting, and I think it's in here, but
I might have mentioned that we had our quarterly meeting, but nothing specific.
okay. Yeah, but it was part of the strategic plan, so we just wanted to make sure the board, if we're continuing that, it's very productive. We're making contact with the new city engineer who came from San Mateo, that we used to work with, and so they're sharing their projects, we're sharing our projects, so it's been a process to get here, but I think we're at a very good place that we're gonna have that open communication and are talking, especially with our OCR project getting really close to construction. So well, we gotta work it first, but hopefully close to construction, but I think that was a really good meeting that we had.
Definitely.
Yeah, Tracy said that, I think that she's an assistant director or deputy director, I'm not sure what the formal title is here now in Belmont. Which is my title at San Mateo. And, I think the equivalent is that her hair is on fire. Like that she is just like, because she started right before the storm hit. And then she was dealing with all of that, same thing, you know, out in the field, Belmont was just a mess. So.
It was nice to meet them all in person too at a Public Works, American Public Works Association meeting. So the city of Belmont was there and the option was still there. And
So I was gonna, the meeting was with the two of you.
But no, it was with our staff
Yeah.
and Public Works staff.
How many?
From our side, it was Pat, myself, Michael Anderson, and then Juben was there. And then on city side, it was Peter Brown, the Public Works Director, Tracy, what's his name?
Or she's the.
Yeah, a couple of their inspectors, and then why do I want to say Brian? Brandon, he's the streets guy. Yeah, maintenance guy, yeah.
So it's really nice because we have all the way up from the Public Works Director down to an inspector. And then on our side, we have operations all the way up to the general managers. And so it's really, I mean, we're talking about nitty gritty stuff from, why are you asking us to do this, you know, on our slurry seal, and then all the way up to, here's all the projects we have. So
Yeah.
it's nice to get everybody in the room and kind of, you know, talk.
Well,
to
we're
each
doing
other.
it virtually, and it really helps doing it virtually, right? Then we don't have to travel over there, then travel over here. So, I mean, doing it virtually has just been great. He even says he'd have to come across the bay if he's not over here.
Does anybody take like notes or minutes, or just everybody take like personal notes?
Yeah, just personal notes.
So
Yeah.
you don't forget what was talked about? Okay. So it's not a formal meeting, but
No, and I think it works well as an informal meeting,
Yeah.
because it's just, you know, kind of colleagues to colleagues. So.
Yeah.
so if you want to, if you agree on something and then you want to fall back on it, how come we said we're going to do this and then 6 months later we haven't been doing it? How do you?
Anything like that, we could follow up with an email. There was one item that we did do, just that we followed up with an email. When we discussed.
Speaking of just work city staff, the 2x2s, because you and I have been talking about that too. So I reached out to Ashton. And he was talking with the evidence going to be the vice mayor and then the the lone male council member. Those two are going to be the two persons from the city council staff that are going to meet with the board president, vice president, and the city manager and myself, or it could be county
president and Director
Okay, okay. Yeah,
So
that's
it's not
right.
gonna be May?
It doesn't sound like it. Yeah. So I'm waiting to hear back from them, you know, what their schedule looks like, as you'd asked, you know, if they have a preference for a daytime or a nighttime meeting, and that's, I'm just kind of waiting to hear back before we, you know, I can get back to you, and then we can talk about the times and then talk about subjects too.
Yeah, because I have no idea what the mayor or vice mayor,
Yeah,
what, if they work during the day or work from home or work,
Right.
I have no idea.
yeah.
I mean, I met them yesterday, the day before yesterday, at the council meeting, and I addressed them. That was the first time that I addressed that board. You know, a couple of them I've seen in council before, but the council has all changed now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Okay. Anything else? Britta?
Not for me,
You
sir.
good?
No.
Okay, okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start off by talking about something that's gonna actually affect you guys. So it's time to pull the trigger on doing multi-factor authentication on our, anything related to Office 365 and for you, you know, email.
I've had to authenticate myself on the city of Palo Alto email, like at least 15 times this week.
So you like it?
Super secure. Super secure.
Well, so I've been talking with Stepford on how to do it. I don't think you'll have to authenticate that many times. For what I understand, you actually have to do the authentication process whenever you have to enter your password. So if you're, you know, it's a new machine, you'll have to go through the process then. If you're on it, you know, if you could sign in and save your password, it saves her for 3 months and then automatically boots you out and you sign in again. So it's not gonna be a headache ongoing, hopefully. But I will send an email, memo follow-up with directions on what to install where, but what you have to do is install the Microsoft Authenticator on a cell phone. It's more secure than doing multi-factor authentication where you get a text message or an email, because in theory, those can be spoofed. This app can't. And so the timeline is we're planning to, make the switch, and I just confirmed with Jim, May 3rd, which is next Wednesday. And the idea that is we're doing for all employees too. That's a day separate on site here to support us. So if we have the issues, we'll be here to figure that out so we can keep working. And I'll include Stepford's phone number. If you encounter any issues that you can't work out, call them during the day, preferably if you can. They're available at night, but you have to leave a message that they get. So that's that.
So get back to that. So
Yeah.
is this gonna be one where we have to change the password every 90 days?
No, that's a
No.
different thing that we haven't done.
Yeah, because I do have emails where I have to
I know.
change password every 90 days, but then it comes up so fast. It comes up with like, you have 12 days, 11 days, and then 10 days, and it's, oh, please shut
The
up.
best $10 I spend a month is on password management. Plugin, just
Really?
saying, yeah, one password.
Yeah, that's a different thing, not doing that.
Okay,
All right, so that's, what I highlighted, we joined Maywork, which, is a really cool organization. I'm excited for that. I think it'll help us, as another platform to use for recruiting as well as, employee training and, other, outreach. I thought I put it on here, but I didn't put it on here. I just wanted to, highlight it. I mentioned earlier. So there was a governor's executive order that came out related to removing the requirement to be in stage 2. If you recall, that started with the governor's order and then the state board passed emergency regulations. Those state board emergency regulations don't expire yet until June 10th. And so, and unless the state board takes action for something sooner, we still legally need to be implementing all the demand actions required in stage 2 until then. So we're looking
so
at that.
basically,
working with
no action, and then until it goes in and dies a natural death.
Yeah, so we intend to bring it, that to you next month.
Yeah.
We're talking about having it on this one, but then, we got into discussions with how best to do that, so that'll be fine. And I mean, and then the Hastings service line replacement project, so, Vic Funds report is attached to my report on how that's going. It's going slowly because they've hit, a number of challenges, slower than anticipated. One of the challenges they've hit is, they're using a tool to go through and, bust a line and pull new lines, so they don't have to, open the whole trench up. But they're finding, that other utilities have been installed, it's all rocky around there, and that's one of the biggest reasons, the lines run parallel, it's all over. Whenever they put in the line, they were just trying to find the softest ground they could. Well, every other utility found the softest ground they could, because it's on top of our service line. So, when they're right stacked on top, that tool can't pull through. So, it's just the reality of the situation out there. But there's some good photos in here as well that, have been shown, so you can see, what they're doing, and they're doing their best to reach out and work with the residences and to minimize the inconvenience that they face, but it's a project to avoid any inconvenience whatsoever, so. So any questions on?
I don't know if I know which, how many services?
65 services, and most of them are double services, so it's like affecting 120, 130 customers.
They're split?
Split, yeah. The water line comes off the main, goes up to the property and splits right there.
And the existing water mains are what, copper?
The existing water mains out there? No, aren't they
they're-
asbestos concrete?
Funky.
Oh, polybutylene is the
lines
service
are-
material.
It's just really funky plastic that was sold in the area for about 10 years.
Yeah, polybutyl.
It just not a good product.
It's not a durable product, so we're putting our copper in there and that should last for a long time.
Yeah. All right, good. Thank you. Any other questions for Pat? All right. Good. Who's doing the admin services?
Monique, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, you're up.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I have been talking with a claims adjuster and I've given him as many receipts as we currently have. So he's going to write up his report, send me a list of what he has. I'll make sure that it's all of what we think we're covered for. And then he'll submit it to the insurance company and we should be seeing some funds pretty soon. So that was really good news. The records retention, I do have some pictures of some of those lovely boxes and records. And yeah, as I think Kat described that some of the records had disintegrated. What did happen is a lot of them, because of their age, had remember Xerox paper? You know, those what do you call them?
Mimeograph,
What?
mimeograph paper.
Yeah. And you know how it had the copy, what was that stuff in the middle of the
Carbon copy.
Harvard?
Yeah, the carbon copy. Yeah, that's it. And that stuff just totally disintegrated. It was bad.
It
It was really bad. So anyway, that's why those records couldn't be kept because it was just literally melted. So then I just wanted to point out that our utility billing people, Ron O and Misty, were successful in completing a 14-month process to get all of our utility billing accounts on one reading date. So took them 14 months. They really took into consideration the impact that it would have on customers. So they just moved them slowly along and they have accomplished that task. So that was a big plus for us. Everything else is pretty much status quo. That's all I have.
So the water bill will end and start on the same day?
Yeah, the water bills, yeah, and it's starting the same day, yeah. We used to bill twice a month, right? Or we had two billing cycles, yeah.
So some people are gonna get the bill a little early.
Well,
We
it's
would-
just-
For one time until they adjust.
yeah, so it's just slow process so that we wouldn't shock anybody with a really big bill. So it's taken, like she said, 14 months for us to get to a point now where
Easy.
everybody's getting like a bill every 30 days, so it's, now they've gotten used to it. Did we have any complaints that you know of, Monique, from customers when
No.
when we're going through this process?
Nope, not a single complaint. They just moved them up one day at a time so that the impact of the financial impact was minimized.
Oh, wow. Nice. Thanks, Monique.
Very good.
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. No questions? Okay, good. District engineer?
Yeah, Harbor Boulevard, we're having a pre-con next week, so pre-construction meeting, so we'll have a better schedule once that comes in. That project we awarded back in December. But because of the rains and the procurement of material, it's taken a while to get started, but honestly, it's right down the street and it's wet, and so I don't mind it starting later because it's just gonna dry out the ground a bit more, so prices are locked in, so I'm not concerned about it. Our pre-construction meeting on that one is important because it's in the county. So we don't have too many water mains in the county, we don't interact with them too much, and they're a lot bigger bureaucracy than the city of Belmont or city of San Carlos, but we made really good contact. They were involved during the design phase, so it's not a surprise. So they're gonna be at the pre-con. Caltrans is gonna be at the pre-con because of the off-ramp coming off Harbor. So there's a lot of players, but luckily it's a wide road, right? And so being able to take up a lane doesn't really affect too much traffic control, hopefully. And so, yeah, we're excited to get that project and get that main in the ground. There's a lot of, we also invited the fire department to this pre-con. We don't typically do that, but there's a lot of fire services with all the buildings that are going there. So we want to talk to them about shutdowns and, you know, when the fire service is down and fire hydrants are down. So just, you know, normal scheduling stuff, but we're excited to get that project in the grounds. Nothing on DLNO that we're expecting plans here next week. The big one was Old County Road, or is Old County Road. We had our getting ahead of myself, the pre-bid meeting. So this is where we invite prospective bidders to come in. For them to qualify to bid the project, they have to attend this meeting. And we do this to make sure that we don't get somebody from Bakersfield bidding our job that has never seen the job, never seen the roads. And so it's a mandatory pre-bid. And we had 9 prospective bidders. So that's a really good number. That's that we're very comfortable with that. We did a lot of outreach beforehand. So calling folks. So we do the normal one where it's the minimum required, but we also call contractors and just say, hey, you know, come on over. We have cookies and orange juice and free drinks and whatever you want. So great. We had a really good turnout. So out of the 9, then we follow up again. Hey, so are you going to bid the job? Are you, you know, what can we do to get you to bid this job? And so 2 dropped out, unfortunately, which happens, you know, they're just busy or don't want to, you know, don't want to overextend themselves, that they've told us. So now we have 7 eligible bidders. We're hoping we get 5 bids out of the 7, because there's usually some that just last minute decide not to bid, and 5 for a big size project like that is pretty good. So we're shooting for 5. We get 6 or 7. That would be okay. The one thing I do want to mention on this is we're actually going to move the bid, or we did move the bid opening date 3 weeks. There were some questions that came up, even though there were minimal questions. It required further clarification with the cities of Belmont. And so this project goes through City of Belmont, County, and City of San Carlos. All 3 jurisdictions that we work with are involved in this project. So just different coordinations. And one of the questions that came up was night work, which we've already cleared, and they're allowed to work at night, which is preferred to get more production. But it was regarding how much of can we do a full shutdown versus a 1-lane shutdown, and what the detours look like. So we wanted to just clarify that. We thought we hadn't clarified, but we want to clarify a little bit more. So we're waiting to hear back from the City of Belmont on some clarification. So we decided it was more prudent to delay the bid, move it 1 month, and award in June, just to make sure all that stuff gets answered in the addendum that we're going to be issuing. So we're getting really close. I know, Louis, President Vela asked me, how certain are you, you know, a couple of months ago, and it's on the street. We're getting close, but, so we have a bid due date. In this report, it said May 4th, but it got moved, after this report was issued to June 1st. But we have really good interest. That's the part I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of, that we have some good perspectives.
Yeah, hopefully it will come through.
Yeah. I have one thing that's not on the report. It's gonna be on the report next month, but I wanted to just hand out something that's timely, I think. And we'll talk about it in detail at the next meeting, but you may have seen this or may recall seeing this. I'll just hand it out together. Several years ago, a very simple report on the left-hand side. It talks about the projects that we put in the ground. These are all the projects, acceptance dates, and the linear footage of pipe on the left-hand side. So in the past 7 years, we've put down 25,000 linear feet of pipe in the ground, which is a pretty good number. I wanted to put it in perspective on the right-hand side as far as where we sit with recommendations from American Water Works Associations, with recommendations with other agencies out there. So on the top right box is, we have roughly 93 miles of pipe, and that the equivalency is there. And then I put the rate of renewal that American Water Works Association recommends, and the linear footage of pipe that we put in annually, and our renewal rate versus American Water Works Association. That's the second box. And at the bottom is the critical part that staff and really looks at, is what will it take to go to a renewal rate as is recommended by industry. to replace pipe once every 100 years, right? A renewal rate of 1% is replacing pipe once every 100 years. Right now, a renewal rate is, we put a pipe in, it's 180 years, right? So that pipe has to last 180 years. So we'll talk about this a lot more next month. It'll be on the agenda, but I wanted to hand out a draft right now because the information was available, and then we'll dive into it next month.
So if you want, you can go look at the presentation I made to our council and committee on our wastewater side to get rates, so I could do it in one every 100 years and follow up. I mean, we did the exact same thing. We modeled it out. I gotta go drop, I gotta do 2.5 miles a year. Here's what it's gonna cost. I need 9%. And I mean, that's exactly what we should be doing. So.
And there's a lot that goes into play for, it's not just dollars, as Matt mentioned, it's also staffing. It's also disruptions to the community. So there's a lot that goes into the biggest one is rates and dollars, right? Like that's the first thing, but then it's capacity, right? Do we have the capacity to do it and those kind of things? So, but anyway, just thought it'd be to start the discussion. And so I wanted to hand it on.
And you were talking about the harbor, when you said that you're going to shut down some fire services.
During a switchover.
Okay, and so that would be for how long with a fire?
Typically it's a
service?
day. Not 24 hours, but it's during the day. So not more than, I think our specifications have about 6 hours.
And the fire department were there at the meeting?
They will be there. We've invited them. So pardon me?
I'm gonna wonder what they're gonna ask for when you have a fire service out of service.
So the pre-construction is next week, and that's the reason we invited them was typically, in the past, when we've done work in the industrial area, they wanted to be informed. So we do a call ahead to say this.
Fire watch, in my experience.
And then if it's multiple services being shut down, then there's a fire watch. And sometimes they have an engine on standby, so it's just
The insurance, probably are interested in knowing what's going on.
the property insurance.
Yeah.
So it's not 24 hours or during the evening, it's during the period where we switch. Everything is done on new main, and then we're switching everything over from the old main to the new main, so it's a point of, as they switch over. So we thought it was prudent in this case, because there's so many industrial buildings.
No, absolutely.
to have
Absolutely.
there.
You wanna cover yourself. Okay.
And then we have Julie to keep us out of it.
That's the quote of the night. I keep these guys out of here. So far, yeah. They're still trying really hard though.
So Matt, I'll look up that presentation. You said.
Oh, no, don't, it's not worth watching, but no, I mean, I just started commenting on, it. I literally gave the same spiel to the city council and probably follow up a lot more than 3 months, well, multiple times over 3 months. Trying to get the wastewater, and we're doing the same analysis on the water side, trying to get all the utilities, except for on gas, because we're trying to wind down the gas. So,
All right. Any more questions for Juben? Anybody? Good? Okay, we'll move on to Alan, financial report.
You there, Al?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, I'm going to start. You may notice that there's a new report, and this was generated by last month's discussion about the water charges revenue. And since that is the lion's share of your revenue, roughly 2/3, depending how much capacity charges, whatnot, or above, it's important to keep track of it. And I went back and analyzed the last 5 years, what percentage each months of the year annual total, how much came in per month, and got an average for the 5 years and use that as our database. And then actually, I prepared a simple graph that Kat actually vastly improved on. So that's what you see here. And it compares the projected revenue versus the actual. The blue bar is the projected, the green bar is the actual. And then with the lines, it gives the 5-year cumulative average percentage to date compared to the actual. So if this is something the board would like to see in the future, I don't see any reason why that can't continue to be put together. But like I said, your water revenue is a very important part of the budget, so it's certainly it's worth a little extra analysis compared to every other account.
Yeah, and I'll just say, since I think I was the genesis of some of this conversation, you guys hit the nail on the head in terms of what I would find useful. So thank you, which is sort of being able to look at the month to month, but seeing are we above or below the dotted black line and
Yeah,
how revenue trending and all that kind of stuff. So
right.
that's great. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And like I said, last month when we were talking, you can't just look at the target percentage, because it varies so much. The highest month is virtually double the lowest month, and the first 4 months are your biggest months of the fiscal year. So anyway,
To Alan, to follow up on that, should the
Yeah.
target be adjusted? According to.
I don't like target because it's a made up number. It works great for some accounts. It's worthless for other accounts. I personally would never put it in, but it had been there traditionally. There is no one target, and that's the problem. Because it works excellently for some, your personnel costs other than vacancies and cash outs, but some things go real even during the year and other things vary so much. So there is no single target. The way I used to do it is I wouldn't put a target. I would just, for the big accounts, don't cover every little account, say, okay, we're on average or on budget on this one, we're below, we're above, and then why. There really is no way to give a target that's going to hit, be accurate for all the accounts.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other standard reports are there, the monthly budget for operations as well as capital. Talking about water commodity charges. Unfortunately, we start out bad, picked up, and then the last 3 months have been below budget again. I mentioned it, it was in the write-up for the budget, but we didn't use the 9.8 million for the current year as the base. It was reanalyzed for the last few months being low, and we used a base of 9.54. Again, not wanting to overestimate our revenue. And again, I know I've mentioned this every time, but one thing about the water revenue, if it's under budget or over budget, about 50% of that is offset by the cost of the water. So that is one mitigating factor. So the net surplus is just a bit below 2 million. A significant decrease from last month, but this is a month where it normally is a deficit month because the revenue is so low. Interest revenue continues to be above expected. I did a little bit more of a write-up because we were talking about treasuries last month also. And most of the revenue from the treasuries is not the interest on it. That's a minimal amount of it. It's the market value of the treasuries. And of the 6 months, basically, that they've been held, 2 of the months they lost value. Overall, they've greatly increased in value compared to the investment in LAIF and whatnot. But I just want to focus on that a little bit more, just so that there is a possibility of losing money on those, but they are the safest investment that's out there. And then the rest of it is just the standard where operating revenue expenditures are and total expenses and whatnot. So unless you have any questions, I don't really have anything else.
All right, any questions for Noah? At the job on the graphs here.
Beautifully formatted chart.
I have to admit, I cheated and just borrowed from how I looked at water demand for conservation and drought tracking purposes,
Same thing.
like exactly the same thing, so.
That's good. Really. I like that. kind of change.
Reappropriation.
Alan, good job. Good work.
Thank you.
All right. Any other words of wisdom, Alan?
He's muted himself.
Oh,
No.
the one thing I almost jumped in, and I guess I'll go ahead, throw it in there, during the budget is mentioned possibly putting nothing for water capacity charges. 60,000 has been used in the past. And the one thing in looking back the last 5 or 6 years, the lowest it ever was 63,000. So that much, at least in the last several years, that's the minimum that has come in. And with budgeting, a lot of it you can get fairly close. You know, you shouldn't just throw money in there. Oh, we hope it comes in. But yeah, I did want to point out there is a basis for putting, you know, the 60,000 there. You know, again, there's always been some, at least that much. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you for that.
All right, good, good. Anything for Alan?
No.
All right, Alan, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, good work. All right. Anything from staff?
No.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll move on to the director's report. Right, anything?
No, I'll look for Aqua.
Oh, good, yeah.
I'll report out.
You've been to one before, right?
Not sure if it's been for us. It had been for Valley Water.
Oh, good, good, good. All right, cool.
Open the report.
All right, good. So we were at the HIA meeting, right? And we talked about the new development plan for the north of San Carlos, not north of the HIA, right?
Yeah.
And for the HIA, Cat is giving the report now, so good. So people are getting used to Cat's report as well. And then we had the usual, you know, finance committee and the agenda committee. That was it. What did you do?
Boys room.
Oh.
You laugh, he's like, I don't need those things.
I'm not gonna say it. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
No.
All right, cool. So this meeting is adjourned.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
We'll go to closed session.
Yeah.
Go ahead and adjourn if you want.
Yeah, we have to go to closed session, so.
And then we, you bring us back into open session.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, Brenda.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we'll go back to the open session.
And there is no reportable action.
Okay.
Adjourn.